All right. So we're going to be doing our first, update, right? 2.0 coming back, revisiting Dillon Thieneman, an ERASER safety from Oregon. So back in the summer, before 2025 college season started, before the NFL season got going, before we even really knew what the Patriots roster would truly look like, right? Dillon Thieneman was my top pick for New England in this 2026 draft. At the time, admittedly, there was some projection because he was going from Purdue to Oregon, or just thinking, hey, let's see how Oregon uses him. Is there going to be see some improvements in some of the issues he was having, like overrunning, angles, tackle, technique, some of those things that we were worried about? Well, yeah, he got better. And for the Patriots, although Hawkins had a great year, Woodson had an amazing year, especially for a rookie, I just thought we were missing something at that level. And we were still having issues with tight ends, out of the slot, power slots. Although Marcus Jones handles some of those guys great sometimes, and he's good against the jitterbugs, there's some issues there. It also just seemed like the ability to disguise and also have a guy who's your absolute last level safety blanket on some of these broken plays. It's like, man, I wish we just had one of those guys that just had that instinct and had the speed and the intelligence just to sniff these things out and not screw some things up. So yeah, if you go back and look at my Twitter, I don't know how many times I said, hey, Dillon Thieneman, you are a New England Patriot, because it'd be nice to have a do-it-all safety. Someone who can erase the post and single high, spin late into robber, carry seams in the quarters, insert into the box, tackle in space, be that quarterback on the back end as well. A coverage eraser with range and intelligence. He can hit, but he's not just a hitter. He's not just an enforcer. He's not just a nickel or box safety. And he's not just deep middle runner. He's everything now. And his development, all 3 years from Purdue, his first year to second year, changed his responsibilities, and Oregon just opened up everything for him. And he kind of walked into the combine and confirmed that this guy is a legitimate dude. We knew that going into the season, he's fast, but doing it in a more clinical space like the combine, you can't deny it because he's doing it, right? And at 6 foot, over 200 pounds, like a 40-yard dash with a 4.35. I think he had like a 1.55 split. I mean, you're looking at peak velocity, 23.5 probably in there at some point. Vert, crazy. Broad, crazy. 3-cone in the short shuttle we didn't see. But I wouldn't be surprised his 3-cone's like a 6.9. His shuttle's right around 4. So it's impressive. And again, at 4.35, 207 pounds, that's not just like cosmetic speed. That's functional. That's like momentum, hitting, structural speed. I mean, the acceleration curves, strong early phase force production, that first 20 and that last 20, you can definitely see his hips get under, his knee getting a good front side mechanics. That's legitimate top end carry speed that can sustain. He's not just ripping and pulling. He relaxes and gets in that position. And again, that's one of the things you can see why this guy can be a deep safety, and all of a sudden, like, he's coming up and he's making tackles on the running back. It's like, how's that happen? Well, this guy can get there. He's got the IQ processing, and he's got the speed. He's got the instincts too, which is awesome. So for a Patriots defense that kind of struggled to consistently close that middle of the field window in 2025 when it mattered, it'd be nice to have a dude there that can just screw with a defensive coordinator and absolutely rattle a QB pre and post snap. And again, I'll point this out. This is not projection. This guy has production, and he had breakout freshman season. 106 tackles, 6 INTs, 74 of those being solo tackles, and he played as a true single high, right? Primarily. He had other things to do, but that's what you would say he played as in 2023. Second year at Purdue, basically the same production, but they expanded him more into like a box. And more importantly, he basically played the majority of his snaps as almost like a corner, a slot corner, right? So Went from a single high to like a box / I would say nickel, right? So he was basically a slot corner that year. And then 2025, 1 year, still had nearly 100 tackles. I think he had 1 or 2 interceptions. But the big thing here is now he's going heavy split safety. He's got some robber thrown in there. Defensive single caller at Oregon. And they toggled him between single high middle of field guy, split safety quarters, again, robber buzz rotations, still covering the slot, big nickel versus tight ends, always doing some sort of I don't want to say always, but throwing in some late rotation disguises. So the 2025 showed like more expanded responsibilities, expanded usage, and pretty damn good. Just like, it's not like, oh, they added something and he's developing. It's like instantaneous effectiveness. And all those different things I just explained to you showed up on tape at Oregon. It's expanding. Strong expanding, not weakness. Hard expansions. Those things are now built in. There are hardware expansions. And some of the concerns I had going into the season, angle discipline, better. Better throttle control from depth, improved. Stronger near hip contact finishing, definitely. And that was one of when you watch the tape, besides what he was being told to do or asked to do, where I was like, this guy's made a change, is that last coming in, thumping, near hip contact finishing. He looked different tackling. Showed that he wasn't just some sort of, instinctive corner playing deep safety. Like, he is now a hard-hitting safety, right? Him up front is not a liability. Now, why does he make sense? And I know, because everybody's probably thinking, well, we need an edge, we need a tackle, we need the tight end. I hear you. But the Patriots, let me just give you a little backstory. Since Gonzo, the Patriots, their first-round draft pick, going into those seasons for the Patriots and for the player, right? Their college season, the Patriots' regular season. Christian Gonzalez was my favorite player for the Patriots going into that season. I didn't think they had a shot at him. He somehow fell to them, and now they have one of the best corners. Getting Drake May, that was crazy. I had him over the other two. Looks like we might be right in that respect. Will Campbell, I was on Will Campbell the whole summer. I liked other guys, other players in the draft, but for me, Will Campbell was essentially what the Patriots had to get. So hopefully, this is another year where it happens. Thieneman, for some reason, you have to get him. Now, unfortunately, I think it might break this year. I think he's going to be a top half, the first round guy, especially after the combine performance. But we have to talk, what happens if somehow he slides? Maybe there's just the fact that there are so many wide receivers that are injured or getting older in the NFL, and there's just a bunch of teams that are like, F it, we're going to take a wide receiver. The NFL desperately still needs tackles, offensive tackles, right, left, doesn't matter. Maybe they get thrown up. The edge class is deep. Maybe the teams are just like, we'll take something that is impact and, Caleb Downs. They got McNeil Warren as other safeties. Maybe, there's not 3 teams that want to get safeties in the first round. And for some reason, Dillon Thieneman is sitting there. Now, I like Dillon Thieneman over the other two. You can hate me with the Caleb Downs, like, oh, he's so much better. I'm Dillon Thieneman as an NFL safety is higher for me, and he's much higher as a Patriot. And again, we have some of the core pieces, right? You have your long-term QB, you have a tackle, you have Gonzo at CB1. You need a wide receiver 1. Not happening in this draft. I will talk about that extensively probably for the next month. There are no first-rounded grades for any of the receivers in this draft class. Somebody will have a great, rookie season. That's for sure. And you'll be like, yeah, see, this guy. No, I'm just telling you, going into this, like the profiles, the athletic testing, the production. I mean, most of these guys, they're being pushed in the first round. or weren't even their top receiver on their freaking team this past year. It's next year where the studs are showing up. So if you don't need to get a wide receiver, don't get it. Yeah, if one of the top corners falls to you, you can talk me into that. I think your real true edge guys will probably be gone. The rest of them are more niche-y. I don't want to get like a third and long, speed edge rusher that's, all speed, very little power, terrible against the run at 31. If you don't have to, you can still find some of those guys later on in the draft. But what you don't have later in the draft, true coverage erasers who unlocks disguises and flexibilities, who's going to allow a young, developing defensive coordinator to have a true chess piece, Swiss Army knife, whatever cliche saying you want to say there. Because it's going to allow for, again, a young, developing defensive coordinator to be more aggressive up front with front multiplicity, sim pressure with late safety spin, cleaner middle of the field, close coverage integrity, a tight end guy, which the Patriots, if you want to ask me what's been missing for a long, long time, I just remember Adrian Phillips trying to cover Mark Andrews. Like, what are we doing here? That's been 5, 6, 7 years now. Basically since McCourty. A guy who could really actually stick on tight ends and be physical with them. Right? So without having somebody who can match up with tight end, but without sacrificing deep range too. And those higher disguise ceilings, unbelievable. All the different things you can do with him because you don't know what he's doing because I just explained to you as first 3 years in college, he changed up everything. He's not coming in as a fill in the blank, niche type of safety. He's a real true do-it-all guy. And there's other things he probably can do that we don't know yet because he hasn't been shown. He hasn't shown it yet, or it hasn't been explained, or it hasn't been asked of him yet. Because as a trait evaluation, deep safety, if you just want that guy, he's like an A. I think he is a first rounder on his ability to play as a deep safety. Now the Patriots might not value that, but if you're looking for how highly I think of this guy, just as a freaking deep safety, I can't think of anybody that could probably play that position that's come out in the draft better than him. Malachi Starks was pretty good. I'm trying to come up with it, but there's not too many guys that can probably play that position. It doesn't stand out. It's not clear because he's got elite crossover efficiency from pedal, clean hip transitions. Strong overlap timing on posts and digs, peak velocity supports true sideline to sideline erasability. He's getting there. And the one thing at that deep safety, it's not like he had just a great breakout safety as a Purdue as a freshman at that position or that responsibility, but it's improved. Even in 2025, we saw better QMR, which is QB manipulation resistance. He got better at something he was awesome at over the last 3 years. So overlap range speed, I think he's a neutral to negative. So he's arriving at or before the catch point on deep overs and posts. This is, again, why you have an A single high / quarter safety. Beautiful, something we can add on to. Now, where I think he becomes an instant add-on without anybody, he's like 3 guys in one, right? This is the second dude you're getting, is a big nickel or big slot or nickel guy. Now, is he absolutely phenomenal at that? No, I'd give him a B+, maybe an A-, if you think about it, with his physical testing might move him up a little higher in that responsibility. But he's physical versus tight ends and power slots. Seam carry leverage is sound, functional mirror and match zone, and might not be absolutely elite, but he can handle jitter option routes, right? So from those little shifty wide receivers, that's where he can also, so he's there. He's not a liability against those guys. And like I said, his second year at Purdue, he's essentially a slot corner. So I wouldn't say he's a pure man nickel, but he doesn't really need to be. You got Marcus Jones, but he would definitely be at least a matchup adjuster. So if you're trying to mess with personnel and you're trying to get an edge on the defense, he's going to close that, that gap they're trying to get against somebody. having Thieneman out there, he kind of like closes the gap, right? Whatever they're trying to like mess with, he kind of blunts it for them. And what's nice is that he's not just some, coverage safety. The big thing that jumped last year, and again, I said this, is that he looked different as a player on the field, on tape, was that run support and tackle. I would say he's not like an enforcer, right? I give him a B, but it's trending up because the missed tackle rate improved. The near hip strike rate, that increased late in 2025. And the deceleration distance, it was around 1.8. I think it's probably 1.6 if I watch through the tape again. It's good. It's not elite. Pad level improved, entering contact. So all those issues that I was like, well, we'll see how he does in Oregon. Not only did he come out of the season look like going into the season, the early part of the season, looked like there was improvement. He got better. So he's no longer overrunning angles or anything like that. Again, these were minor concerns about him. I thought he was a first-round draft pick. Beginning of the year, these things improved. It's always been solidified. And last but not least, football IQ, communication. He's the secondary traffic controller, right? Late rotation comfort, pattern match recognition. I have one memory of a blown assignment. So very low rate there. High pre-snap communication, very. The index there is through the roof. You could see him out there. The coach obviously trusted him to command that and be able to still process quickly and, carry his own responsibilities. So that's the dude. That's the improvements. The combine, looking through the biomechanics and the movement profile, it's freakish. It really is. I know freak probably gets thrown around too, but this is a guy. Doing some of the math here, peak ground reaction forces, you're looking 2.5, probably 3 times body weight at certain points. Clean too, so you're not getting too much braking impulses there. Hip extension angular velocity was around 800 degrees per second. This guy knows how to run, and he's got the strength, the genetics in the preparation to do that is through the roof. He's got really both concentric and eccentric strength profile. So he can go, he's got the juice, but the eccentric strength profile, he easily can handle deep middle braking without losing, again, structural integrity. You can look at some of these tapes, you can see some of the movement analysis here, but he's not breaking himself, which is important because he has body control and he's smooth and he's on target. He can be critical in those split safety rotations or like in scramble drills. You need a guy that is reading the quarterback and is able to watch the quarterback, but he knows where he's going. He's got a good kinesthetic sense of where the other guys are and where he is in space. Oh my gosh. Again, the instincts, everything is there. And what's nice is basically watching him go through the field drills and his testing. All the other things that are still kind of questionable are coachable. Let's just say, again, another eraser, but it gives that flexibility. The spin late, rotate too high into cover 3, play quarters without sacrificing a middle of field overlap, insert them into robber, simulated pressure packages. The ability to unlock coverage multiplicity is just, it's endless. So why should they consider him round 1? I know even with the edge and the offensive line, trust me, I'm there. I've done most of my work on those 2 positions. We got to get to the quarterback and we got to protect the quarterback. I think, again, free agency, looking like Trey Hendrickson for edge, Dylan Parham for probably coming as a guard. Those would be my 2 picks there. You can probably, there's a few other guys there, free agents. There's definitely some reclamation projects that I'll talk about maybe over the next few days, but they won't require incredible high capital investments, minus maybe Trey Hendrickson. But I think if you're going to get proven studs, you're going to have to go get them. And I'll point out again, I like Ruben Bain. He's not a Jared Verse. He's not a Will Anderson, nor is Bailey, nor is Arvell Reese. Maybe they develop into them, but they're not these guys that will probably come, I should say this, most likely, based upon their profile, do composite scoring, all these things, do not project to being right out of the box instant menaces like those other guys I just mentioned. So if you're not going to have the guy that you want in the first round that is going to be menacing, and you can go and get one with some money, that's probably a better idea. And then this way, you have a safety that gives those guys a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. I know it's like, oh, first round safety at 31, right? As an eraser safety multiplies the entire front seven. So having that elite single high does not operate in isolation. He changes how the defense calls the game, right? So him with a 4.3 speed, legitimate middle field range, corners compress with outside leverage, knowing the post is capped. So now your corners act differently. Your defense has an edge just by having him out there. The nickel can drive aggressively on option routes. Linebackers can match vertical releases without panicking, right? So the linebackers, worried about them in coverage, they can act different when you have him there. And again, the defensive coordinator can spin late from too high into cover 3 or robber without sacrificing deep integrity. That matters because it compresses the quarterback's mental clock, right? They're like, oh shoot, what are we going to do? When the post is erased and immediate windows close faster, the QB is going to have to hold on the ball a little bit more. And when the QB holds on the ball, the defensive line will get home. You don't just improve coverage, you improve pass rush efficiency with a really good eraser. And modern offensive structure attacks the immediate middle of the field and seam, right? So if that window is consistently open, edge pressure must arrive under 2.5 seconds. So if you don't have that middle of field guy, your edge rusher better be insanely good. That's unrealistic snap to snap, by the way. But even if you just want to get somebody in that 2.5, they have to be an elite edge rusher. But if you cap the post, overlap the crossers, and disrupt seam timing, rotate late to confuse the QB, now the QB, once again, is forced to hitch or do a second read, right? That extra half second, all of a sudden, that extra half second that has to happen, that opens up so all those other edge rushers that can't get the 2.5, there you go. You're at least getting a pressure, but most likely a sack, right? Less likely they're going to get a nice explosive play out of it, that's for sure. And him having a legitimate 23 mile per hour peak velocity, overlap timing, improved trigger discipline, all these things that we're looking for now, they will be able to call even more aggressive simulated pressures, knowing that the deep middle is structurally protected. So, you have a problem with the edge group? They're benefiting from Thieneman. If you can't get an elite edge rusher in the draft class, let's get a guy that can at least upgrade your current edge help. Having that structural flexibility will improve everything. Adding another edge, yes, helps the pass rush rotation. But that's still playing within the architecture. Thieneman changes the architecture. Gets split safety disguise pre-snap, late rotation to cover 3, robber insertion on third down, big nickel packages versus tight end heavy offenses, which we're starting to see more and more of. Multiple, we're in those 3 tight ends. Somebody's going to have to match up against those guys. And if you can't get 2 or 3 new linebackers that can handle that, you better get a safety that can. And not having that true eraser, your coverage menu starts to shrink. Who's going to handle these things? Thieneman, we see an expansion, not shrinkage. Pressure creativity, coverage variability, disguises, the frequency of those disguises, explosive play prevention. And we saw this when the post wasn't capped. We struggled. When the seam leverage broke down, we struggled. Deep overs outran pursuit angles. It sucked. And the thing is, we want to get edge, but edge doesn't stop that. And what they can do in that 2.5, 3 seconds can't impact those type of things, right? They can't get to the quarterback quick enough to address those issues. Whereas Thieneman can address those issues and then gives them more time. We're looking for somebody who is a coverage anchor. This is not a luxury pick. Whoever says it is probably a moron. Sorry, that was maybe a little bit too aggressive. Has a bad understanding of how certain the interactions between different positions and how they lean on one another, right? And all of a sudden, again, he's a multiplier, right? Expansion. And I'm still good with looking for edge. If like a TJ Parker gets the 31 for whatever reason, I'm okay with that. One of the tackles that we're looking at, like Blake Miller, might go before the Patriots. I like Blake Miller as a right tackle if you need him. There's plenty of other tackles I've gone over that might fall too. Maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe you're looking at these teams and how they're trying to construct their offensive lines. Maybe somebody does fall. And it's like, that's just too big of a pass up. I get it. Or there's wide receiver like Omar Cooper Jr. I don't mind him at 31. If he makes it there, I get it. Right? But all of a sudden, if that edge board flattens out to be just kind of niche guys that you're like, I don't want to get like a third down specialist or just a plain edge setter at 31, right? Or some guy who has major holes or questions about their character. Say the tackles that you were loving, they're gone. And Thieneman's sitting there with verified elite athletic profile and proven production. I think the value equation changes. Because now you're getting a top first-round talent in a class that might have 10 to 12 first-round players, right? And then you're actually solving one of your more structural limiting problems on your defense. Sadly, I still expect him to go before the Patriots pick, but I've said that before. You got Christian Gonzalez that fell, the New England capitalized, and see what happens. If lightning strikes twice, Thieneman is the type of first-round selection who's definitely going to stabilize the back end for, again, like a decade. Something we wanted in New England since, well, McCourty retired. Be nice to have a do-it-all defensive back again. Anyway, what do you guys think of Thieneman? Do you think the Patriots go after him? If so, when? Let me know in the comment section below.